welcome some of the stories we have for you right now. Power moves. Mark Carney meets with Justin Trudeau and prepares to become Prime Minister.
Discuss the most important issues for our country, obviously including Canada and U.S. relations.
Waiting on a timeline for the official handover and the prospect of a snap election. Taking stock of a market free fall in the middle of deepening economic uncertainty.
It's really, really scary.
We want to feel safe. We want to be able to know that we can go to a pub.
Sprayed with bullets, a look inside the Toronto pub turned mass shooting scene.
Elbows up.
Elbows up, Canada. You know, we gotta protect ourselves, defend ourselves right now.
Plus, anatomy of a rallying cry tracing the origins of elbows up.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A big week ahead in Ottawa, changing of the guard with new Liberal leader Mark Carney beginning the process of becoming Prime Minister after his massive win yesterday. Carney arrived on Parliament Hill today for a full day of briefings, stopping to chat with reporters and telling them there's a lot of wood to chop as he went inside to meet with Justin Trudeau, who is winding down. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Couture is here with us now. Okay, Mike, how did the day go for Mark Carney?
Yeah, well, Sandy, with many people anticipating an election sooner rather than later, Prime Minister-designate Mark Carney got right to work and right here to Parliament Hill, holding meetings with the old leadership and his new team.
Really honored by the mandate I received from the Liberal Party. A lot of wood to chop. Very much looking forward to meeting with the Prime Minister and getting going.
With former Liberal MP Marco Mendicino as his Chief of Staff, Mark Carney met with the outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for 2 hours. His next order of business was to meet with the reinvigorated caucus.
I think Mr. Carney is what Canada needs as a whole.
There are people that have joined across the country explicitly who have told me, I've never voted Liberal before, but I'll be voting Liberal this election because of Mark Carney's leadership.
Carney won an overwhelming mandate from Liberals, taking the leadership with nearly 86% of the vote. MPs clearly feel they have momentum to carry into an eventual federal election.
I know that now that we have a new leader, people are going to be excited to run for us, so I don't have any worries about us finding excellent candidates for the upcoming election.
Just when Carney will call that election, he wouldn't say. But he did tell reporters he's moving swiftly on a seamless transition from the Trudeau government.
Just had a meeting with the caucus. There is tremendous energy in the Liberal caucus. As you saw last evening, this is a united party with full of energy to serve Canadians.
Trudeau and Carney weren't seen together at all in what could be the Prime Minister's last day on Parliament Hill. But Conservatives continue to try and paint the two leaders with the same red brush.
The Liberal establishment has installed Justin Trudeau's economic advisor as the next Liberal leader, to trick Canadians into giving Liberals a fourth term in power. But he's just like Justin, and he's more of the same.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh also took aim at the new Liberal leader.
That is his plan for the economic uncertainty of Donald Trump, for the threats of Donald Trump, is to give money to millionaires, to cut jobs, and to cut health care.
Now, it's unclear when he will be sworn in as Prime Minister, but he'll be taking over a country that's in the middle of the trade war with the United States. Sandy?
All right, Mike, thank you. And we saw a reaction to that on the financial markets today as they dipped dramatically on both sides of the border, the Dow diving more than 1,000 points at one point as the trade war ramps up, and also following comments by Donald Trump in a Fox News interview where he appeared to acknowledge the risk of a recession.
Are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America.
Now, hours later, Trump walked back his previous comments on Air Force One, stating that America will make lots of money from his tariffs. But the damage was done. Trump's comments and whiplash approach to tariffs reflected in the markets today, as we said, creating instability and uncertainty. So we asked CTV's Colton Prail to look into this for us. And Colton, take us through the market's reaction today.
Well, Sandy, frankly, it was the worst day on the markets that we've seen all year, but the slump
goes much deeper than that. As you pointed out, the Dow dropped over 1,000 points at one point in the day. It closed down nearly 900 points, a 2% drop. We also saw the S&P 500 down 2.7%, its worst week since September. Meanwhile, it gets worse. The Nasdaq down 4%, its worst single day since 2022. We have seen huge hits to tech stocks over the last several weeks, and that continued again today. Tesla down 15%. The Magnificent Seven also all down, roughly around 4%. That includes stocks like Alphabet, Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia as well. These are very significant stocks that have been seeing immense gains over the last several months. But if you look at a company like Nvidia, down over 4% on the day, they've been so hard hit by this instability that's existed since this Trump tariff threat. They've lost about a third of their value over the last 2 months. And it's that instability that really is driving this. Economists say today really is the market reacting not just to this Trump quote, but a realization that this might not just be a negotiating tactic, that this trade war could be coming, and it could create an incredibly unstable business environment in the United States. Sandy?
Okay, CTV's Colton Prill. Now, while we wait to see what Donald Trump's plans are for Canadian steel and aluminum this week, Doug Ford isn't waiting. Ontario's Premier sent a strong message to the Americans. The province is moving ahead with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to several U.S. states. CTV's Judy Trinh now on that story. Okay, Judy, talk to us about this move by Ontario.
Sandy, this is Premier Ford going on the offensive. Ontario will be the first province to use energy policy to attack Trump's tariffs. Ontario is launching an economic attack on the American power grid to try to force U.S. President Donald Trump to back down on tariffs.
Pausing some tariffs, making last-minute exemptions, it won't cut it. We need to end the chaos once and for all.
The province will add a 25% surcharge on electricity it sells to 3 states, New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. The charge will impact 1.5 million U.S. homes and businesses and generate up to $400,000 a day, money Ontario will use to get workers through the trade war. American consumers will end up paying $100 more a month for electricity. In Canada, Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, and BC account for the majority of electricity exports to the U.S. Those provinces are also considering putting surcharges on hydro.
We are putting in place legislative tools. It is hard to predict where this thing is going. And we don't want to be caught without a tool to be able to cut off electricity or increase charges on electricity to the Americans.
While Trump has delayed general tariffs twice already, he says global reciprocal tariffs will be in place by April.
We may go up. I don't think we'll go down, but we may go up. But they have plenty of clarity.
Ford says he will be ready.
Let me be clear. I will not hesitate to increase this charge. If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
The next move in this trade war will come from the Trump administration. On Wednesday, Trump is expected to put 25% tariffs on $40 billion worth of steel and aluminum from Canada. Sandy.
All right, Judy. Now, during this time of economic uncertainty caused by Donald Trump's threats, we are closely watching the interest rate decision expected Wednesday by the Bank of Canada. Economists are predicting the central bank will slash the rate by a quarter point as it waits to see how long the trade war with the U.S. will last. Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem has said the bank will use its policy rate to smooth over the impact of tariffs, but he warned that if the trade war is prolonged, Canada's economy will not bounce back as quickly as it did after the pandemic. Well, Canadian grocery chain Loblaw made moves today to make signage on U.S. products more transparent. The company is adding a symbol to signal where you will pay the price for Trump's tariffs. CTV's Kathy Lee went shopping to help explain this latest move by the grocery chain. Kathy.
Sandy, Loblaws says it wants to ensure transparency with its customers about why they may see price increases on some of its products. Due to Trump's tariffs, the Canadian government slapped retaliatory tariffs on roughly $30 billion worth of goods, such as poultry, dairy items, and fruits and vegetables. And some of the cost will be passed on to customers. To let shoppers know which products have been impacted by tariffs, Loblaws will be putting a T symbol next to them.
Loblaws has been in the news a lot over the last couple of years, accused of profiteering and taking advantage of these cost of living changes. So I don't see this as anything more than just indicating when you see the price go up, you know who to blame, and it's not us. I'm totally in support of letting the consumer know at least. It's not going to change their pocketbook, but at least it changes their mindset.
Loblaws says it still has U.S. inventory in its distribution centers, so Canadians shouldn't expect to see a price increase right away, but it is inevitable.
I'd rather avoid a product that is impacted by the tariff and get something that is still within my price range, and it's going to help me manage the budget.
I think it's good. I think that that's wise. I think that it allows Canadians to understand what they're buying and to have options to be able to purchase something else.
The company says it will work with its suppliers to reduce the impact of the tariffs and are working to expand non-U.S. options.
Okay.
Sandy.
Kathy, thank you. Now, trade tensions with the U.S. is one of the reasons Hudson's Bay, which is Canada's oldest company, is giving for seeking creditor protection. The move marks an uncertain future for the company, whose roots go back way before the founding of this country. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson now on what's coming. Andrew, over to you.
Sandy, layoffs and store closures could be what's coming down the pike for the department store chain that dates back all the way to the 17th century. The glory days are in the past for this once robust retailer. The Bay is blaming industry-wide pressures for its bleak financial situation, including post-pandemic shifts leading to less traffic in stores and strained Canadian household budgets. The company also says economic uncertainty over the trade issues with the U.S. are affecting refinancing efforts. Experts say the Bay's decline was inevitable.
Customers have changed their behavior. They don't go shopping in large department stores anymore, full stop. You know, once this starts to happen and you get less people going into the store, then you have less money to invest in the store. And so it becomes, you know, product inventory becomes declines, experience declines, there's less employees in the store, but you still have these ginormous leasing or rent to pay.
Hudson's Bay says it is deeply committed to Canada, and the plan now is to restructure to strengthen the business. In the meantime, stores are open, and if you have a Bay gift card, you can still use it. But court documents show reward points have been frozen. For now, you can't redeem them during this restructuring process, and there are millions of Canadians with outstanding balances. Where could this go from here? Well, the retail expert I spoke with predicts up to half of Hudson's Bay stores could close over the next year or two, leaving only the strongest performers. And even those locations could be in jeopardy long term. Sandy.
Okay, CTV's Andrew Johnson in Vancouver. Now, another business also in the middle of restructuring, the North American convenience store 7-Eleven chain. The Japanese parent company has been fighting hard to prevent a takeover bid by Canadian rival Couche-Tard. Now it looks like the Quebec-based company has begun talks on a plan that would satisfy U.S. antitrust regulators. Couche-Tard had put in an offer of $47 billion last year, which was rejected as being too low. Coming up after the break, inside the shocking mass shooting at a Toronto pub.
It's really, really scary because they can hurt anybody.
Following the trail of bullet holes as the investigation expands. Plus, major rescue operation after a collision between an oil tanker and a cargo ship. Outrage in Washington, D.C. as crews started to dismantle the city's Black Lives Matter plaza. Now, workers were seen removing the bright yellow Black Lives Matter painting installed 1 block from the White House during calls for racial injustice following the murder of George Floyd in 2020. The mayor says the move to erase the landmark came after pressure from Republicans in Congress. Social media giant X seems to be back up and running now after owner Elon Musk said the site had been struck by a cyber attack. Musk posted there still is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this one was done with a lot of resources, either a large coordinated group and or a country's involved. And we're quoting from Musk on that one. Tens of thousands of users have reported outages. Now in Toronto, the hunt is on for 3 shooters who brazenly opened fire at a pub on opening night this weekend, injuring a dozen patrons. One of the gunmen used an assault-style rifle. CTV's Allison Hurst now on the ongoing investigation.
The police tape is down, but inside Piper Arms, clear signs of a violent attack.
It's like out of a movie. It's like gangland, gang style.
Bullet holes pierced through a back door, a TV above the bar, and an interior window.
It's very disheartening that we have individuals out in our community who are willing to take these types of action.
Police say 3 masked men barged in around 10:40 Friday night carrying an assault rifle and handguns and began shooting indiscriminately.
It's very concerning that, you can be anywhere and, in this case, enjoying a dinner or a drink.
7 people were struck by bullets in the arms and legs, and 5 others were injured by flying glass. Miraculously, no one died or suffered life-threatening injuries.
Well, I used to go to the old Scott House that it used to be, and ever since then it's been all kinds of different places.
Friday night was the Piper Arms grand opening next to Scarborough Town Centre.
There were a lot of delays with the opening, so I'm curious as to if this was planned.
The motive remains unconfirmed, but the shooting follows a week of gun violence linked to the towing industry. Police would not confirm a connection, but say they're looking into it.
Very scary. It's a place we plan to visit and most likely won't after this, so it's sad to hear it in our neighborhood.
Investigators have warned there will be an increased police presence in the area while they look for the suspects. Allison Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
After days of violence and hundreds of deaths, Syria has announced the end of military operations against loyalists or former leader Bashar al-Assad. Syria's defense ministry says threats have been neutralized in Assad strongholds. Reports say more than 1,400 people were killed, including hundreds of civilians. Gunmen loyal to the new government are also accused of carrying out revenge killings. The interim president is promising an investigation by an independent committee. And an explosive collision took place off the east coast of England this morning when a cargo vessel collided with a tanker carrying jet fuel for the American military.
But the Solong should have avoided it, and it would be down to incompetence on behalf of Solong. There is no reason why, in the 21st century, 2 ships should collide.
The collision triggered a major rescue operation. All 37 crew members aboard the ships are now safe. A Portuguese-flagged container ship named the Solong was sailing to Rotterdam when it struck the side of the tanker. Multiple explosions followed, and jet fuel spilled into the sea. Still ahead, stranded and also in need of rescue. The fallout from a vicious winter storm. North Korea fired several ballistic missiles into the sea today, hours after South Korean and American troops began combined military drills. The reclusive nation is warning that the military training exercises risk triggering conflict in the region. South Korean officials say this is Pyongyang's 5th missile launch this year. Crypto experts say hijackers linked to the North Korean regime have cashed out at least $300 million US after stealing digital tokens worth $1.5 billion last month. The heist targeted a single exchange and is believed to be the biggest crypto theft in history. Emergency crews used inflatable boats to rescue stranded drivers in Australia, where a tropical storm has lashed the east coast. 1 person was killed and thousands were displaced after the region was struck by a downgraded tropical cyclone named Alfred. Pope Francis is taking part in a Vatican retreat to kick off Lent as he recovers from double pneumonia. The Pope is participating remotely from his Rome hospital room. The 88-year-old has been hospitalized since the middle of February.
The song is The Locomotion.
This is music for dancing.
And if you've ever wondered what music King Charles listens to around the palace, now you know. The king revealed his love for Kylie Minogue's hit song and 17 of his other favorite tunes on an Apple Music special. His personal stylist also includes Beyonce. That's a playlist, rather, includes Beyonce and British artist Ray. He doesn't have a personal stylist, at least none that we know of. After the break, when the gloves are off and the elbows up. How a hockey-inspired fight term turned into a breakaway movement. Donald Trump's attacks on Canada compelled comedian Mike Myers to mouth and act out the words elbows up on Saturday Night Live. Now, it's a phrase that's since gone viral, a rallying cry at demonstrations like this one. But the defiant slogan actually started with Mr. Hockey. CTV's John Venevali-Rao now on the empowering and unifying message taking on momentum.
It's becoming hard to miss on social media a surge of videos urging Canadians to get those elbows up and take a symbolic stance against Donald Trump's threats. Folks spreading a message that's even become a political rallying cry.
But fight when we must, elbows up.
Because we will never kiss the gangster's ring.
My thanks to... In its current context, the slogan was first used by Canadian Mike Myers, who just over a week ago on SNL wore a Canada is not for sale t-shirt and mouthed elbows up during the credits, something he did again this past weekend. In Ottawa on Sunday, hundreds gathered for an elbows up rally. And protesters shouted it at an event last week outside the U.S. consulate.
Absolutely, 100%. Elbows up.
As for what it means, it goes back to Canadian hockey legend Gordie Howe. Known not only as Mr. Hockey, but also Mr. Elbows, a player who took no guff from his opponents.
If he saw somebody skating towards him to deliver a body check, all of a sudden the elbows came up and the hitter became the hittee and thought twice about going after number 9, Gordie Howe, from that point forward.
Born in a farmhouse in Saskatchewan, he was one of 9 kids in a family that struggled through the Great Depression and known for being tough on the ice. And now, elbows up, shorthand for standing our ground against U.S. tariffs. Some selling hats and T-shirts with the slogan, all about flexing national pride and showing we're not about to back down. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Just the kind of patriotism that we're all feeling as we deal with the uncertainty swirling around us. Now, CTV National News will be here for you day in and day out. We are in this together. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Stay strong. Help yourself. Bye for now.